everybody. Welcome to the Soulful Eclectic. I am your host, Diana Collins, and I want to welcome you to today's episode. If this is the first time you are joining us for this episode or any episode or just listening to the podcast for the first time, I want to say thank you for taking the time out for joining us to listen to the podcast. I appreciate you so much. Thank you again. Thank you for taking the time out for being here and listening. If this is you are returning, okay, not even the first time. If you are returning, I want to say welcome back, welcome back, welcome back. And thank you for taking the time out for coming back in and listen to what we have to talk about on the Soulful Eclectic. So if you guys haven't heard or haven't realized or noticed or paid attention to the flyers, we are now a member of WUBI, that is Whiskey Uniform Bravo India. And that is WUBI Radio, and you can find us online. So if you look in the show notes, you can click on the link, and you can hear us on Friday evenings at 6 p.m. Mountain Standard Time, which is 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. All right, and it's the same time, Pacific Standard Time, if you are so inclined to listen to us on the radio, but you can still follow us on Spotify, iHeartRadio, Apple Podcasts, Google Playlists, and also Pandora, as well as iHeartRadio. I think I said that, I'm not sure. And many other streaming platforms for podcasts. We are definitely on there. So today's episode is also brought to you by our sponsors, Divine Nubian Essentials, which is a hair and skincare product, which is all natural, vegan, handmade with love by Divine Nubian Essentials. And also for those of you who are in healthcare education and are in need of tutoring or just some guidance on where you are in your healthcare education road, you can reach out to Collins Education Resource Management. All right, so today we actually have a very, very special guest that is near and dear to me. I don't know what's wrong with my voice today. I do know what's wrong with my voice today, but a very special guest that is near and dear to me. And she's been on the show before. Her name is Maya Baker, and she is my daughter. But today we're going to talk about some different things about boundaries and, where she is now in relationship-wise. If you go back to the previous season, you can listen to her episode on where she was and how she has grown and continues to grow as a woman of today, right? Because it's different than when we were growing up for those of us who are Gen X and, baby boomers. So the millennials and Gen Zers are growing up in a different time, and they have a different set of challenges, and no more, no less than what we dealt with, but they're definitely different. So definitely would like to talk to her about where she is in her life and her career. So with that, I will bring you in with Maya Baker. So we're going to have coffee time, lunch time, midday conversation with your daughter. That's what I'm going to call it, right?
I love it.
So I introduce to you all my beautiful daughter, Maya Baker.
Hello.
So today is actually, I want to say it's like a follow-up episode because you were on the podcast, I want to say maybe 2 years ago, right? Was that?
Sounds about right, yeah.
Yeah, right? Because it was a while ago. It seems like it was just yesterday, even though it was, I think it was 2 years ago. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, no, now that I'm thinking about it, I remember what we were talking about, and yeah, it was 2 years ago because that's when I met Eris, so yeah.
Yeah, so just look at that. We circle back.
Oh, wow. Just looking at how much progress since then.
Yeah, and you know what? The progress and the change that has happened since then. So, well, yeah, since we are starting there, first and foremost, let's start with where you are as far as, business, work, and things like that are concerned. So, how's business going, Miss Massage Therapist? I'm on my own, starting my own thing, doing this, being an adult and stuff.
Adulthood is the worst. Don't recommend. Highly unrecommended. But it has been rewarding. I would say this year has probably been a very great year for business, and for my 9 to 5, because when starting a business, you still have to keep a 9 to 5 unless you're rich.
Right.
So even my 9 to 5 is great, making at least $6 more than I did last year, which has been great financially. Still, life just is lifing.
Oh, man.
But the business itself has picked up too. I have grown in the clientele. It's never going to be enough until I get it to where exactly I want it to be at.
Mm-hmm.
But I can reflect on the previous year, and since I've actually had my business, and this has probably been one of the biggest years for my business with having clientele, and not just current clientele, but consistent clientele as well, which is a plus. And every business owner knows having consistency in your clientele is great.
Exactly. And, being a entrepreneur, businesswoman myself, consistency is definitely important in all of that. And I give you credit, and I'm really proud of you, not just, because you're mine, but because, it takes a level of, perseverance and tenacity and grit to keep it up, because it's so easy to say, oh, I'm not making these, big six figures right away, and I'm ready to quit, and you didn't do that.
I can't. And I get what people mean when they say I can't afford to quit. I can't. I feel like I've put too much, not even money, but passion. This is what I love to do. So if I really want to see it go where I know I can take it, I have to see it.
Right. That's true.
And
so
I gotta put that, that dedication, that determination, and even that still has its growth as well.
Okay. That's so true. So we're talking as if everyone has heard the first podcast that you were on. Let's just backtrack just a little bit, all right? So tell us exactly what it is that you do and what exactly your business is and how you have grown it since then.
So I am a massage therapist, and I also specialize in stretching as well. I mainly handle clients or clientele base where it's more medical. So if you have like sciatica, scoliosis, if you just want to become more mobile in your flexibility, I specialize in that. It's really nice to have a good balance of clients that also just want to come to relax. And I'm not saying that I don't do that. I do as well. But I mainly want to focus on the medical side of it, where I'm helping you in the long run. Me and you are working together on your goals for how you want your muscles to be, especially if you're working out. If you want more, stretch exercises, or somebody who could just stretch for you because you just probably don't want to do it on your own. Because who wants to do that?
That's a real thing.
I can definitely relate to that. I'd rather go and let someone stretch me than me do it myself, because I don't have that motivation and that determination to tell myself I need to stretch. And I can say I do now. That's why, like, based off the podcast from I was on before, I wasn't really big on that. But now I have seen the benefits and have told the benefits. And then this year, I also have been partnering with a beauty bar. So I have more range. I used to just go to people's houses, so more mobile business. Now I could also add events into that as well. So I've had some companies wanting to do self-care days, and I love that.
Yes.
I am all for that.
Oh my gosh. I love that companies are buying into that whole self-care theme. And I don't even want to say it's a theme, because it's a lifestyle, because COVID has shown us that we really do not value ourselves as much as we should, and we need to take those self-care days. I like to say self-care is not selfish.
Oh my gosh, that is my motto.
Right? Because it's not. And for those of us who are in the giving profession, like nursing and, um, massage therapy, you're giving out your energy. That takes a lot. So you have to replenish that. Otherwise, you're giving from an empty well.
No, that is so true. I have a lot of teachers and moms, of course, too, who come in, and I always remind them. Then that's part of why I love my job, because I don't mind being that reminder.
Mm-hmm.
Because sometimes you do forget about yourself. You do forget that it's not selfish. And I will gladly be here to remind you that it is not. Take that time for yourself.
Yes, you have to take that time for yourself. And also, I think businesses are recognizing that if you take care of your employees or help your employees take better care of themselves, you have better employee retention within that company because they feel like you value them as not just a number that can be replaced if they're not doing their job, but you value them as a person and a human being, and that you want them to be at their best. And them being at their best health wise helps them perform better for you as an employer.
Oh, of course.
Right? So,
and I love that companies are starting to see that now. So that's, a plus for my business as well.
All right. What's the name of your business?
Luna Vitality.
Ah, I love it. Luna Vitality.
Yeah, so I'm trying to go into the mindset of everything is energy based.
Mm-hmm.
And I love the mood, so why not? Mood energy. Just in a different way of saying it.
Yeah, I love it. So you've partnered up with a beauty bar.
Yes.
How has that been?
It's been a good eye-opener on starting your own business, and not just a business, but a Black-owned business. And having women not only experienced in life, but experienced in the business aspect as well, because these two women that I partnered with are around your age and have kids around my age. So it's good to see things from a different perspective.
Okay.
And still not get treated like a child, because that also has its issues. It could have, I should say.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of like, it's a partnership, but I also see it as a mentorship.
Oh, that's beautiful. That's beautiful. So that you're also growing as a business owner while running your business and taking information from these two women, and growing you.
Right.
All right.
And they're very open to teaching me things as well, so that's also appreciated, because it's one thing for it to be a one-sided versus it's both sides. We're both teaching each other.
Right. And I like that you said that you're both teaching each other, because here's the thing. It's one of those things where we forget that even though we are of a certain age, that we can't learn anything from the younger generation, which that's so not true. You guys are seeing things with a different set of lenses, a newer set of lenses, because ours are cloudy. Let's just face it, okay? I'm not foreign to that thought process. Our lenses are cloudy as hell, okay? And I love the fact that we're willing to take information from both sides and use it to grow. And the fact that it being a women, predominantly woman-owned company, or it is a woman-owned company and Black-owned, you guys are stepping away from that, what I want to say, not the norm of what has been of we attacking one another, being Black women, right?
Mm-hmm. Especially two different generations too.
Yes, especially two different generations. So I love that we are changing that culture. and helping each other and straightening each other's crown, right? Straightening each other's
Mm-hmm.
crown. It's like, okay, I see you're a little off today. Let me find out what's happening within you.
And the understanding.
Mm,
I'm big on understanding because it's one thing for, somebody you're either partnering with or, your 9 to 5 jobs where you're working with somebody and it's like they say they understand, but they really don't. Versus, somebody taking the time to not just say they're understanding, but it shows that they're also understanding.
yes.
They don't make you feel bad about anything. And they honestly remind me that I'm a grown woman sometimes.
Right. Oh.
And I love that.
You know what? And that is so true because even in my generation, even for me, I mean, I'm 48 years old. I'm not scared to say it. I know people say women shouldn't say their age. Hell, I'm 48 years old and I'm happy for those 48 years. Dang it.
Be proud of it.
Right? But it's one of those things where I find myself in that same headspace when I'm in the company in the company of women who are of my grandmother's generation, of my aunt's generation, because it's like automatically you feel like you're back in that child position and
yes.
You can't say those things because oh my god, auntie's gonna think something of me or whatever. And then it's like I also have to do that too, constantly remind myself, you're a grown ass woman.
Okay, you are an adult. You pay bills out here.
I pay bills. I can say this. I'm okay. I'm being respectful. Come on now.
And it's like they're also teaching me to have that assertiveness as well that is needed in a business, especially a business that are run by women and Black women, because we're not taken seriously in the real world, let alone the business world.
No, and that's so true. And I am so glad, I am so proud that you are learning that now at your 26 years of age, whereas here I am, like I said, at the age I am now, and I'm just getting to really step into that wholeheartedly. And still, like I said, I'm still in that stage where I still fall back and like, no, 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 no. You're grown. You're a businesswoman. You got education behind you. Step up. Show your worth.
Don't also discredit that either, because I see that as a motivation for me as well, because you have always told us, but now you're also a prime example of it's never too late.
Mm-hmm.
And that also helps me learn how to take my time and not rush the process, and to not look so far into the future and focus on the now, because that's what's happening.
Right? And yeah, it really is. It's what's happening, and that's a constant reminder too for me. Hearing from you and saying that I am like a leader and I am that inspiration is like, holy shit, somebody's actually really watching what I'm doing. Damn it.
Yeah, and I'm so proud. Oh my gosh, I brag about you like how you brag about me. You know that you're always that mom that brags about her children.
Yeah.
And now I'm bragging about you because I'm so proud, because I know how much you have wanted this. I can only imagine your whole life versus just my whole life.
Yeah.
Like looking back on growing up, it's like I didn't know the signs at the time, but like looking back now, you got everything you wanted. And I love that for you. The husband, you're still working on your jobs, but you have it.
Yeah.
You're following your dreams with the acting. You got the podcast going. And it's not about how many times you go back and forth on what you're doing. You're still doing it.
Yeah.
And I love that for you.
Thank you. It's one of those things that, like I said, it's a reminder that people are watching, and I think that the fact that people are watching is what helps me keep that tenacity and that perseverance going, because as I told you earlier, failure to me is not continuing on and pursuing that passion. And that's what I love about what you're doing. You did not go the traditional route for school, and neither did I. Not that there's anything wrong with the traditional route, but you recognize earlier on that traditional school is not for you, you know?
I tried.
She's like, I tried.
I tried, and I did, and I think even to this day, I still not regret, because I try to live my life without having regrets, but like lessons or things to learn from, do differently.
Right.
And so when it comes to not going to college, or I did go and ended up dropping out because, like you said, I realized it just wasn't for me. I still to this day feel like, not bad, but think about, what my life could have been if I did go that route. And I think that's also what keeps me driven with what I'm doing now.
Yeah, I mean, because college isn't for everyone. And who's to say that you won't go back at, a later age to do something else or to strengthen what you're currently doing? That's not to say that that's not going to happen. It's just that at that point in time, it wasn't the right thing for you, and it would have been wrong for me as a parent to push that, because then again, like you said, what would have happened? You might not have had that drive, that tenacity, that grit to do what you're doing right now. So I would say, like you said, you don't live your life with regrets. It's nothing to regret. It's a lesson. You look back on it, it's like, yep, I did it. I tried it.
Wasn't it? Not at all.
It's okay. And I'm glad you didn't look at it on yourself. I mean, I don't know. Maybe you did, but I hope you didn't see it as a failure or feel like you were a failure, because you weren't. And I tried really hard not to push that like you were a failure onto you, because you weren't.
No, and I also didn't just drop out. I still had a job, and I can say that is, not going the college route, like you said, it's not a bad thing. I did have that feeling where I think for a couple years I did feel like a failure, because I'm still surrounded by people who think that just because you go to college and you get a degree that you're put on a higher level than everybody else.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's also why I was skeptical at first about college, to be honest, because I don't like that mindset, because at the end of the day, we all have our own paths to follow. So who are you to say that just because you went to college that you know more than me? Just because college doesn't mean I don't read books.
Yes. Yes.
Just because you went to college doesn't mean that you're smarter than me.
No. I mean, I love that you said that, because that is so true. And I think so many people need to hear that, especially coming from your generation, not just mine, because I'm a firm believer in that. That doesn't mean that you lack knowledge of any sort, not by any means. I mean, I just met this gentleman who works for this big company that I will not name, because they are not paying my sponsorship to have me name them.
Yes. So, we're not giving out free promos.
Right. So they shall remain nameless, but it's a huge company that he is working for, and he dropped out of school and just was part of all these little startups. And now he's making all these millions of dollars or thousands of dollars. I don't know how much he's making. He didn't tell me, and he didn't show me his paycheck. But because he's working for this big company, I am going to put my ass out there and say I'm assuming that he is making big dollars, right? So, yeah, so it goes to show that it just one of those things. And a lot of these business owners, all these business books that I've read, for my own personal business growth, they all say it too. You don't have to have a college degree to start a business. If you have an idea, a plan, a business plan, and a great product or a great, service that you're providing, then it shall pay for itself, especially if you have the passion for it. And I see that for you because you've taken, because before you had Luna Vitality, it was something else, right?
Yes, it was Blissfully Serene, and it just, that name kind of reflected, I guess you could say, just the old mindset that I had. I feel like when I first started the business, I think I cared too much about what people thought. And mainly because financially, you still have to keep a 9 to 5 just to pay bills until, your business is where it wants to be. And because the massage world is still small, it's like I always had that fear. It's like, oh crap, like, let me focus more on my 9 to 5 because that's where the income is coming from. That's what's getting the bills paid. And it was keeping me from focusing on my business. Because I had that fear. It's like, somebody's going to talk. And then I have to think about, who cares?
Right.
Who cares? Because I also have that work ethic in me where I know I'm going to be good regardless. And because of the partnership that I have with the two ladies this year, that's also giving me a little more of, and I don't care what people think mindset, because people know how good I am.
Right.
People are putting my business out there, and then I'm also finding ways on how to get my business out there myself. But I've had at least 3 clients offer for me to massage in their house, as if that little room that they set up was just for my business. So I'm like, if I get more people, or even just like a small handful on top of what I already have, I know how far I could take this. So I shouldn't have that fear of, oh my gosh, I'm going to lose my 9 to 5, because that's the point.
Right. That's the point, to eventually not need that 9 to 5. Right? So with that, what has been the challenges that you've been facing so far?
With the business?
Yeah. With the business.
I would say just the fact that there's no days off.
Okay, everyone. Yeah, so when you're an entrepreneur, there is no days off. Okay, even when you're on vacation, you are thinking about your business.
Yes, and if you're not physically doing something for your business, you are mentally doing something for your business. You just can't stop. Because there's always something more to be done. And it's not a bad thing. I'm always trying to look at the positive of everything. But nobody talks about that. There's no days off. But it's also because there's no days off, you're doing everything yourself.
Yes.
I'm starting to see why people have assistants and secretaries.
Oh my gosh. And right now it's like I think about it, even for me, it's like, what would I even delegate to my secretary? And what would I tell them to do? Because I'm so used to doing it all myself, ordering my labels, ordering my product, doing the lesson plan. I mean, it's never ending. So yeah, I get it. I wouldn't even know where to begin delegating, to be honest.
Yeah, I think the only thing I need is for them to take the phone calls, because
oh yeah.
Take all my calls. I see why, like, movies and TV shows, they're like, hold all my calls, because yes, I don't want to take them. Because I'm starting to realize that being assertive is very important in your business, especially when people know you're just starting off, because they will try each way to walk all over you.
Oh, yes.
And try to wiggle into getting what they want.
For less. Yes. So.
And then I have to ask myself, it's like, you wouldn't treat companies that are very popular, because I'm not naming names because we're not doing free promo.
Right.
But, like, everyone knows, like, the common massage places that you see on TV, commercials being advertised, pamphlets. You wouldn't do that to them.
Right.
So why would you come over here and do this to me?
Exactly. And then I think to add to that is that you're a Black woman, so you all automatically are expected to lessen what it is that you're offering and price-wise, right?
Yep. And then because I'm Black, and honestly, most of my clientele, I'm Black and Hispanic. So most of my clientels are also Black and Hispanic. So it also comes into that where they expect a certain thing from you because you're a Black-owned business. They want you to be cheaper, but that's not it. And then sometimes it comes down to, because we're both Black or because, we both Hispanic, they think that I should be handing out discounts as well.
Right. Whereas
everything from your time, we're not friends. Let's understand that. And I think that's where it kind of gets confused. It's like, I don't mind building rapport with my clientele. I really do not. I feel like that's what helps the relationship with, professionally with, therapist to client.
Yes.
Because the point is you have long-term goals, so why not build that rapport with them? But sometimes I feel like people take rapport and kind of...
Yes, I totally understand that, and that's why I was asking. That's the main thing I wanted to get to see if you were mention that as one of your challenges in the business, because I find that a lot of minority-owned businesses, it is our own culture that is expecting handouts and discounts. Okay, this is not the '90s. Like, I got the hookup. No, there's no hookup. Okay.
And I think my prices are fair.
Yeah.
Especially and that's why I like still having my 9 to 5, because most of these spas and massage places are charging almost double of what I'm charging.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then you also don't understand that, and it's not, anything that I should have to mention to you, but it also is just common sense. There is something that in most businesses we call grandfathered in, which means if you have been with the company for a certain amount of time and then prices decide to go up, you're not affected by that because you have been here before the prices went up. Right. So we, at least in a massage business, I don't know if they call it anything else somewhere else, but we call it your grandfathered in.
Right.
Your price that you have been paying, you're going to continue to pay because you've been paying it for X amount of years.
Mm-hmm.
This new price is for, people who have only been here for way less than that, or new people.
And that makes sense.
Eventually, prices have to go up.
I mean, look at the price of just going to the grocery store, for God's sakes.
Oh, gosh.
All right. So, there is that natural inflation in the price. And plus, I'm a firm believer in paying someone what they're worth. Okay. I think this happened. I was buying jewelry or something from one of the Navajo tables that were when we were out in, like, traveling somewhere. I think it was like Sedona or something. And there was a piece of jewelry that I liked. And the guy was like, "Oh, it's $200." I'm like, all right, no worries. I was like, "Oh, maybe if I see it again, or maybe next time something else." And he lowered his prices. And I'm like, "No." I said, "Stop." I said, "I'm not telling you no because I want you to lower your price. I'm telling you no because I want to pay you what you're worth, your time and energy that you put into that. And I honestly do not have it. But I'm not saying that for you to lower it so that you can give it to me." And I know that has been a thing, especially growing. It's so common. But growing up in Brooklyn, that used to be the thing. That used to be the haggle, the hustle right there.
Everything was a negotiation.
Right. Everything was a negotiation. They give you a price, you're like, "Nah," and then you start to walk away. They're like, wait, I'll give it to you for this. And then you turn around like, "All right, cool." No, it's not that anymore. People earned and are expected to get paid what they're worth. And I'm finding that too for myself in, not my 9 to 5 business, right? Because even in 9 to 5 business, it's never seen for us as women, especially Black women, to negotiate our worth, right?
Well, you taught us that from a young age too, because I had just told Eris that since he started his business, when it comes to negotiation, or even if it's negotiation, you're negotiating your worth, because that's also a thing too.
Mm-hmm. And so if you lowball yourself, then you're seeing you're not worth it.
Yeah, and then where you're gonna fall from if they say no to that.
Right. So
I reference that every time because I remember you taught us that as kids, you always start off where your worth is, your highest. Mm-hmm. Because there's always going to be somebody who thinks that's not enough. Yep. And you need something to fall down to. Yep. That is still within your worth and within your means.
Yep, because that way if they negotiate down, it's still within your worth. Exactly. Mm-hmm. So I'm glad that you stick to your guns, and it's like, no, I'm not lowering my prices. No, there is no discount unless I offer a discount on some random holiday that I deem necessary and I give you a discount code. Please don't ask if there's a discount.
And sometimes even if you give somebody a discount who isn't looking for it, they won't even take it, because I just ran into that issue. Or not issue, that situation. I had to cancel a client because I had got the flu. Right. And I told them, because I really hate canceling, even with my day job, because I love what I do and I don't do it. I always tell people this. I don't really do it for the money. I do it because the way you feel after when you leave versus how you came in is enough for me. That is my goal every time. And to keep that happening for you. Mm-hmm. I can't you. So when I had to call out, it does bother me. Mm-hmm. But like everyone says, you have to put yourself first, especially being sick and I'm going to other people's houses. I can't do that. I can never feel good about coming to your house sick and then you get sick. I'm the first to blame anyway. Right. So I ended up giving $10 off. Right. And they scheduled for a couple weeks after that week I was sick. And I had went back, and anytime you book with me, you have to put a deposit of half down first, because that also counts as your cancellation fee if you decide to cancel. So the other half is always paid after the session. So I usually get asked, how much is it after? And I tell them, and, I don't include tip, but I always say it's never expected, but it is appreciated. And I reminded them, I was like, it is $10 off. So when you include that into the payment that you're sending, just make sure you include it with the $10 off. So I gave them the price. I think it was like $30 instead of $40. Mm-hmm. And they were like, oh, no, why did you do that? I was like, I had canceled your appointment, remember, 2 weeks ago. And I told you I would give you $10 off because that was an inconvenience to you. Mm-hmm. And they were like, oh, no, we're just going to pay it anyway. We're just going to act like it just never happened. You got to take care of yourself. You got to put yourself first. So it's like, it feels great. Right. To have somebody understand. And even when you do try to give them that discount, they don't even take it.
Right. But then, that's someone that sees value in you and appreciates you as well as a service provider, right? Because you're actually helping them, like you said, you're helping them feel better.
It's a physical labor job.
Yes. And guys, let me tell you guys out there, she is not a big girl.
I'm little. I'm 5 foot. And I'm skinny. I'm little.
She's a little tiny thing massaging, people of various sizes. And so it can be and is physically and energy taxing on her. So believe me, it is not easy. So if you go to any physical therapists out there, be kind.
Please be kind, because we are not doing this with a lot of enthusiasm on some days, because it's taxing to the body, and because it's energy transferring as well, it could be taxing on the mind. Because everyone comes from different walks of life. Mm-hmm. And that's why I always tell my clients, it's always judgment free when you're with me. And that's so true, because who am I to judge your life? Who am I to judge, you, mm-hmm. what you look like, how your body looks. And that's another thing I need people to understand. I'm not looking at your body per se. And it's not any disrespect to anybody. It's literally, and most good massage therapists will probably say the same thing. You're a body on the table that I'm trying to make sure is good when you get off. Right. I'm not looking at your rolls. I'm not looking at your feet and being like, oh my gosh, and judging you. No, I'm not doing that. if anything, at least for me, it's not a visual. It's more of touch. I need to feel your muscles. So whatever I'm visioning in my head or picturing, you're literally just a body.
Yeah. And I love that because it is true because I've received massages out in, again, no name places because, again, no free sponsorship here. Nope, no free ads here. So, I've done that for sure. And yeah, you're very conscious. It's like, oh my God, I got to get my feet done before I go get my massage done. Because
yeah, I don't care about that. I really don't. That's not what I'm here for. I am not gonna be like, oh my gosh, like, why didn't you get your feet done? That's not what I'm here for. The most I'm gonna say is, what have you been doing that your shoulders are feeling like this?
Right.
I'm trying to get to the bottom of why your muscles are feeling the way that they are. Why is your lower back, one higher than the other with your hips? Is your mobility good? Like, those are the things I'm concerned about. Especially when I get a lot of moms, they're like, oh my gosh, like, if I'm going to be face up, because, when you're supine, which is, face up on your back, they're like, oh my gosh, like, I just had a kid. Ma'am, kudos to you. Superwoman. That's not what I'm here for. Okay? I love that, and I'm glad that because I have, like, 3-4 kid moms that really come to me. It's very rare that I get, I have a few new moms, but it's not like their first rodeo kind of moms. And even those kind of moms are even funny too, because you get some moms where it's like, oh, I just had a kid, and they're like self-conscious. And then you get the other moms, plus older women I also find are like this as well, where they're just like, I look like what I look like, it is what it is. And another thing, people need to stop changing in front of me, please. Can we make that a rule?
I know. You know what?
I understand you are comfortable with your body, and I love that. I am for that, and I love that for you. Because I would probably feel the same way, but because I am a massage therapist, I know nobody wants you to change in front of them. It doesn't matter how comfortable you are. It doesn't matter that we're both women.
She's like,
please and thank you.
Please and thank you. Please stop.
And please stop telling me that you have underwear on or not. That also needs to be a spoken rule. When I say, please, everything comes off except for whatever's underneath your pants. Oh, I don't have anything on under. You didn't have to say that.
She's like, you didn't have to share. You didn't have to share. It's okay. I was just telling you. You didn't need to tell me what was there.
That has to be a spoken rule. I'm tired of unspoken rules. We need that to be spoken.
So, just so you guys all know that, if you go to Maya for a massage, she does not need to know whether or not you're a commando or not, okay?
Please and thank you.
That's funny.
But no, and I love it. I love that I have the mental capacity sometimes to be that non-judgmental and safe space for people, though. So I do appreciate that. I have given people that comfortability to feel like that around me, because that's how I strive to be as a friend, as a girlfriend, just anybody who comes into my life. I want you to feel comfortable around me. I want you to feel like we've known each other for several years.
Right. Now,
so can we? But in a business mindset, let's keep it professional.
Right. Now, it's just so everyone knows, she does massage both men and women, because I don't want it to get construed that she doesn't massage men.
Men, women. I don't think children should get massaged, but I have learned that since COVID, it has been more of a norm.
For children to get massages?
Yes. I've always had the mindset that children don't do enough to need a massage.
Some children, this is true. There are some.
And that's where I had to change my mindset, because, and especially since COVID, where kids have spent a lot of time on the computers, but we also have new generation kids, at least after me as well, that have spent a lot of time on tablets.
Yeah.
And still do. So I can't say that. And then also going from someone who played sports and danced most of my life, I probably could have used a massage.
Right? Those stretching exercises, that the stretching that you now do, you probably could have used it and should have been doing it when you were dancing.
Yes. So I can now agree and say that, any child over the age of 13, and I can say you have to be a teenager. I don't think that unless you have a physical reason for it, you don't really start playing sports heavily until you're a teenager. Mm-hmm. And your body doesn't start taking that toll or impacts until you become a teen, because that's kind of also where you lack a little discipline.
Yeah, but you
think that being told to stretch is not important.
But and that's the thing, because we are finding that a lot of kids, I mean, you had cousins that were growing up, and as they were going, that their parents forced them to do those kid athletic groups, football and baseball. So they're out there hitting those balls, hitting the ground. Those kind of kids, yeah, they probably can use a massage or two. Let's be honest. Even because I know I don't condone it. People are breeding their kids to breeding like they're animals. Excuse me. I know, right? Excuse me, not breeding. My gosh.
No, but some parents just have a more stricter mindset when it comes to wanting their kids playing sports. Sometimes it's not an option for the kid.
Right. And so they are out there day in and day out running drills and catching balls and doing all these things. And
they could definitely use one.
They can definitely use one. So
it's not just for the physical, the mental, just having a break. Oh my gosh.
Yes.
I can't tell you how many of my clients go to sleep and they apologize for falling asleep. Some men will apologize for snoring, and I always tell them, who am I to tell you to get up?
Right.
This is your sector.
Mm-hmm.
I feel glad that you trust me enough to fall asleep and still expect me to do a good job, because most people would take that as an opportunity to not.
Right.
I have worked with people who rather their clients go to sleep because they see it as a break. I see it as I could work and you could sleep in peace. Right. And I'm so glad that you could do that. But it's also just a break from your day, even if it's just an hour.
Yes, and your muscles are relaxed when you're sleeping.
Oh,
right?
Yes.
So it has to be much easier for you to manipulate, because they're not tensing up as you're touching those sore muscles as much.
It is. Because a lot of people don't also realize when they tense up. And I'll ask them, like, hey, can you relax a little bit? Or, like, I'll do, like, a little shake in their hands or legs. And I always ask, are you okay? Because I don't ever want to tell somebody to relax.
Right.
I always say, are you okay? And they always look confused. I was like, you're still a little tense. And they're like, oh, you don't know. You have been so used to the tenseness in your body, or some people are also hand movers when they talk. So there's times where I have to ask, are you okay? Because that helps you, kind of realize, like, oh crap, I'm not relaxed.
Right. Right. So, it's just those that goes back to that whole self-care and relaxing, and we don't give ourselves that opportunity. And you're right, that is that opportunity to do that.
I tell my clients that all the time when I ask them, how are you today? I'm tired. Take a nap. Take this time to go to sleep.
Absolutely. I mean,
who am I to tell you that you can't be tired? This is your session. I always remind clients that this is your session.
No.
So you can customize it how you want to. You don't have to get a full body. You can just get certain areas worked on. But also, this is your session to take to relax. Turn your phone off. Leave it in the car if you can.
Right.
And take a nap, or, just relax. I have clients that come in and talk about their day. I have clients that come in and take a nap. Like, at least 80% of my clients at least fall asleep. And I love it because I'm a nap advocate. Everyone, especially adults, deserve to take a nap.
You sound like Dan. Dan says the same thing. I'm taking a nap.
Take it. Because it is a mental battle out here, and I can say that from full experience. It is mentally exhausting in this world.
It really is. I know. I
think we talked a little bit about that on the podcast last time too, just mental.
Yeah, just the whole mental piece of that. And, talking about that mental piece and, your business and things like that, you mentioned it a couple of times about, setting those boundaries. How are you at setting those boundaries? I know we talked, it was a problem back then, right? On different levels, but how are your boundary setting?
It has gotten more, I can say easier to set it.
Mm-hmm.
But nobody talks about keeping it. You gotta keep that boundary, especially if that person doesn't earn the boundary to be let up. But also the fact that you put a boundary with someone with all good intentions, and nobody talks about how bad it can get. And I think last podcast 2 years ago, we talked about setting a boundary with my best friend I had at the time. Because I'm dating her brother. That experience was a lesson in everything. Oh my gosh. It was a lesson in boundary setting, and that's what I mean by you have every good intention, because she was more than a best friend. She was a sister. Family. So having to set that boundary was already hard all by itself, but not expecting the route that it took. And now, 2 years later, it hasn't gotten any better, but I had to stick with it.
Yeah.
And I have to continue to stick with it, even though that's his sister. Thankfully, because I know it probably would have ruined or gotten in the way of a lot of relationships, it did help us get closer with each other.
Okay.
But I can say that as a plus, because, when you're dealing with anybody with family, and that was the risk we took when we got together, which is the boundary we set with her, was, it's not to get in between anyone's relationship, between me or her, between me and him, or him and her. And actually brought me and him closer, because me and her ended up not being friends anymore.
Wow.
Because, and it honestly came down to a lot of just hatred, I guess you could say.
Wow, that's...
when people aren't happy with what they want to be, or where they be in life.
So jealousy. So you would say it was jealousy?
Yes, I just don't like that word, but yes.
And being envious. She was envious.
Yes, because I was doing things with the family that she wouldn't bring herself to do. And that's why I have to stick with that boundary, because after everything happens, I became the villain. And I would say probably the worst villain you can think of in her eyes. And she played that role for me towards everyone that would listen.
Damn.
So having that happen, and that's my partner's family.
Yeah.
And that's a boundary all by itself, because that's a boundary we need to have within our relationship, and that we actually set with each other. But I had to put that boundary with her and have him understand that I understand that this is your sister. If she decides to come back and apologize for anything, or want to be in your life and not mine, I can never say no to that. That is your family. That is your sister at the end of the day. But there has to be an understanding on where I lie into that, because I cannot go back to being friends. And that's the boundary.
Now that's a firm boundary.
Because I see it as, if you can do it once, you can do it again. And you did it so quickly the first time.
Yeah, why was it so easy to do the first time if we were supposed to be such good friends?
And that hurts the most. Nobody talks about how hard it is to lose a friend.
Right.
Everyone talks about relationship breakups, but not friendships. That hurt.
Sometimes
Oh
friendship
my
breakups
gosh.
sometimes friendship breakups hurt worse than relationship breakups because you expect relationships to end at some point.
But not friends.
Right. And I don't
They
want
stay
to
friends forever.
right. And I don't want to say you expect, but it wouldn't be far fetched if it did, right? Because
No, and also real friends are supposed to be able to work through anything.
right.
All she had to do was just have a conversation about how she felt.
That whole communication piece.
And that's what I meant earlier when I say everyone who comes into my life, I want them to feel comfortable.
Mm-hmm.
I want them to feel safe. And I have always made people feel like that. And I think this was also a lesson because it made me feel like I was a bad friend. It made me question the type of person and friend that I was. And it was my partner, her brother, who reminded me that I'm a really good friend. I'm a bomb friend, okay? I care about my people. Because I would sit in her house every day, put my depression aside, put my anxiety aside, just to be there. That's my person.
Right.
Why wouldn't I do that for you? I've sat in your house. Every time I see you, whether it's in your house, we go out to eat, we meet at the mall, you come to my house, the first thing out my mouth is, how are you feeling? How is your mental? How many people could say their friends do that?
True. Only your true friends will do that for you.
Because I care about that.
Mm-hmm.
Because I know what it's like for me to go through it. So why would I not put that extra step forward to make sure you have somebody who also understands that? So that's what probably made it hurt the most, is because you not only made me question who I was, but you also made other people question me.
And so what does that say about those other people in my mind? Because it shouldn't be so easy for other people, if they truly knew you and understood you, respected you, and had a conversation with you, why was it so easy for them to automatically turn that way and say, oh, you are this person?
You know, that is true. And I don't think I took the time to care enough to ask them that. Because I see it as you just don't know me. And it's not even just about not knowing me. It's also about him. Because their father, who I haven't met yet, doesn't even know me. But knows his son. And he knows that his son would never be with somebody that she was trying to portray. And I can really appreciate that. Because you don't know me.
Right.
But you can trust your son. To not somebody like that. And that was enough for you to still defend me. And you didn't even meet me yet.
Well, and that speaks volumes to his father and his father's character too. Because even the women that have met you, and I think we talked about this, the women that have met you, because I went to the wedding, right?
Yeah.
And it's like, seriously, you were there, you spoke. It just still boggles my mind how that all went down. But anyways,
yeah. And especially being a maid of honor, like you can't make somebody or put somebody in a position of being your maid of honor and treat them like that. You can't call somebody your sister and treat them like that. So this was a lot of reflection because, you know, you put so much all into somebody that you care about.
Right.
And you get blinded. And you know, they say that in relationships, love is blind. So is friendship.
Right. But
because you love your friends.
Yes, it's still an intimate relationship. And again, I think we talked about this in a different podcast. I don't think it was with you, but um, with intimacy. Intimacy is not all sex, people.
No, and it's for men and women or people in relationships.
Yes, you have those intimate connections with your friends. And when that is broken, and I mean, it just tells me that she did not see you as that person.
We were equal in our friendship.
Mm-hmm.
And I had to realize that. And you have to, I at least had to understand and see her for who she was. And I always did. Mm-hmm. But, when you have friends, you have to accept them for who they are.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Nobody's perfect. The same thing relationships, but we're talking about friends. Friends are supposed to be who they are without judgment. Mm-hmm. And it's not to say that I would have judged her. It's just who she was never affected me until it did. Or until I realized that her way of being a friend wasn't really a friend.
So I see what you're saying. So you saw her for who she was to other people, but did not expect her to be that way towards you.
Right.
Even though she was already showing you her true self.
Yep.
Yeah.
No, that's the perfect way to say that. Yeah.
Because she always showed you who she was.
Yeah. No, she did. And that's what I mean. You're blinded because that's your person, that's your friend. We were each other's support. Mm-hmm. We went through similar experiences mentally. Mm-hmm. Certain experiences in life when it came to family. So it's like, how do you not have that bond with each other? How do you not become each other's person? So it had to take me losing the friendship to realize it was really never truly a friendship to begin with. It was all one-sided. Mm-hmm. And that's why I could understand why she felt the way she felt. But you can't blame or be upset with somebody who's doing things that you won't take the time to do for yourself. And you get upset watching it happen, but still won't take the time to put work into doing it. And what I mean by that is she got upset that I was spending time with my boyfriend, which is her brother, and his family.
But she wouldn't do the same.
But you wouldn't come and come out here and spend time with them whenever I offered to drive my own car, pay tolls, and pay for gas. You just have to sit there. And you still kept saying no. I don't know if not everyone thinks like this, but I've come across a lot of people who think like this. When you keep inviting somebody to places or to do things and they keep saying no or have a reason not to go, you're going to stop asking.
Absolutely.
Until you let me know when you're ready. Mm-hmm. I would sit at her house. Every 2 weeks, I would go see him, or he would come here. And I told her that was part of the podcast the first time, 2 years ago.
Yeah.
When me and him were supposed to sit and have a conversation with her to not ask permission, but to get an understanding that we have feelings for each other. We want to see where this can go. And you gave us your blessing. And now you're trying to be upset at the fact that I'm doing my part as a girlfriend. I am not the girlfriend. I'm sorry. I'm not the type of girlfriend to just come for you. I am a family person. I am a family person through and through. I know I'm not dating your family, but I'm dating you, and your family comes as a package.
Right. No, you're right. Absolutely.
And I'm not going to be rude if you're a family, or you, because it's not just the family. You want me to be with you when you go to family functions. Mm-hmm. So who am I to say, no, I don't want to do that? I just want to be with you. What? No. And not just that, but if your family, like your sisters and your cousins, are inviting me out somewhere, I like that.
Right, because that shows
that means that I don't have to have you around me to be with your family.
Exactly.
That's a family.
And they see you and they want you to be a part of the family.
That's how a true family works. It doesn't matter if you're in-laws or not.
Right.
family is family. If you see somebody as family, you're going to include them. Because they even tell me, you don't have to have him around to hang out with us. Thank you, because I love that.
Right.
And anyone who has a partner that you truly love, you could understand that you might want to be around your partner all day, every day, but at the same time, you don't.
Right. Let's be real.
There's moments where you don't. There's moments where you just want some you time.
And that's okay.
It's perfectly fine, but you can't be mad at the effort I'm putting in that you're not putting in, and that's what she was doing. She was upset and felt like I took her place, and that's another confusion. I can't take a place that's not mine to take. You are a sister. Mm-hmm. I'm a girlfriend. We have two different roles that we're playing. I might be a sister to you, and maybe that's where you got confused, but I'm not a sister. I'm not blood family. I can't take a place of something that isn't meant for me.
No, that's true. That is very true.
And you can't be mad at me for spending time with your family that you have all the opportunity in the world to spend time with.
Yeah. Yeah, so she has a lot that she definitely has to unpack within herself because I did not see this going in this direction. I mean...
And I felt disrespected, too, because you were involved. And you know I don't play about you. Anyone on this podcast or listening knows I don't play about my mom. I don't care who you are. I don't play about my mother. I don't involve my mom in things that shouldn't be involved in. And the fact that you went to her wedding, Mom... That's what ate me up the most. I was so upset. I was like, my mom flew into your wedding. Just for you to treat me like this. I had a whole moment because you could have stayed home or we could have just did something together.
Right. Yeah. It was...
And that's where that, that realization for me happened where it's like you never took me seriously and calling me a sister and considering me your family because I've had an argument with one of my other friends who we haven't really been friends for that long. Mm-hmm. And we had it out and I knew it was just because when she gets overwhelmed, she gets very emotional and she doesn't think before she reacts. So she came at me about something that I felt wasn't for me because we've talked about it. And I'm a very understanding person, so I felt like the lash out wasn't necessary for me, and you grouped me in with everybody else that you should have been lashing out at.
See, that's...
And we got into it back and forth.
See, that's hard. And and again, I commend you for maintaining your boundaries in that because you did. You stood strong. You're like, no, I'm not accepting that. I'm not tolerating that. And I'll give you every opportunity to correct yourself. And
you know, you have to talk to me.
Yeah, communication is amazing, right?
Mm-hmm. But with that friend, like I said, me and her haven't been friends for a while, or for that long compared to, my boyfriend's sister. Uh-huh. Me and her were friends for a good 6 years. The one that I just had it out with, we've only known each other for probably 2, 3. Mm-hmm. We got into it, talked it out a little bit. We didn't even go into details about what happened. I told her, I was like, look, I know you're just being emotional right now. I'll let you have your moment, your space, your time, and then come back correctly, All she did was apologize, and we're back to normal. We didn't even have a full conversation about what happened. Like, she wanted to. Mm-hmm. But now we can still function like we did before that happened. That's a friendship in my eyes, where you can have it out with somebody and understand that you're just having a moment and you didn't mean it like that, but next time don't do it again.
Right. Don't let it happen again.
And we can continue our friendship as if that part never happened. That's what I expected from the 6-year friendship, because that's what it was supposed to be giving. When you call somebody a sister, you're supposed to have moments like that. No relationship or friendship is perfect. There's going to be arguments. There's going to be disagreements. There's going to be times where you get something confused and you let your emotions get the best of you. But you talk about it like adults that you are and the friends that you are, And you learn how to move past it and continue the friendship from there on out.
Yeah, but people don't know how to be. Yeah, people don't know how to be friends with people. And when you are, we talked about this earlier in the conversation, when you are groomed as women, it's always a cattiness, always a competition, right? Who's pretty? You're prettier than me. I think you got this more than me. You got this job. It's always a competition, but it's not.
It's not. And life would be so much easier if everyone knew that or could see that.
Yeah, the only person I'm in competition with is me.
Is me.
Okay.
The I was yesterday.
Right, and the person I was yesterday. Okay, that's the only competition I have is that me, myself, and I. Okay, the three of us can throw down.
Okay, and I have to I try to look at the positives, like I said before. So I can say that this situation needed to happen because I was blinded, and I think I was blinded for too long, where I had to see the true colors of everything. And with that boundary, nobody ever talks about there might come another boundary. And having to stick to it, because it's a heartbreak. And that's what I mentioned earlier. Friendships are heartbreaking.
Yeah.
True friendships that you really care about somebody is heartbreaking. And she has slowly made her way back into the live. So something I didn't mention, she ended up texting one of the other siblings. So there's 7 of them. Me, him, my boyfriend, and his other sister, the oldest one, were the ones caught in all this crossfire. He has come back and apologized to the oldest sister. Wow. Which means she's taking her way through. Gotcha. Taking her time. And it comes with a new boundary, because this is what me and my boyfriend were preparing for. Because it's his sister. We can't, no way, shape, or form, because me and him are staying together. Like, anyone who knows us knows that. Right. We're in this for the long run. So I also need to understand and have that understanding that because this is his sister, there's no getting away from her. Right. And that's where that boundary comes in, because no one mentions, there's a part of you that doesn't want to have this boundary, because not only is it because it's his sister, but because this was a person for you, and you always want to give them that chance. You want them to redeem themselves. You want everything to go back to how it was, and nobody, or most people, can't think that it's never going to be the same. And I can at least say it from this situation itself, it can't be the same, because it was never true to begin with. And trust. The fact that if you can try to destroy somebody's character so easily, is what I said earlier, was to stop you from doing it again. So that's why the boundary has to come firm. Yeah, you really have to stick to it. To stick with it. Because you can easily backslide into what was before. Yeah. Yeah. And that's going to be a major setback, because, it did bring the relationship of me and my boyfriend closer, because now we see how much of a team we could be against anybody. And I'm a firm believer, anyone who knows me knows this, whenever you get in a relationship, it's always you guys against everybody else. You and me against the world. That's what I used to sing to you guys. Yes, and that is because you have your immediate family who you grew up with, but then you have your family that you're trying to build for your future. And that's the family that needs the focus. Right. So, and I'm glad you said that, because there's so many of us in this generation, the baby boomers, all of that, who feel like when our children get married, we're gaining a son, we're gaining a daughter, and it's like, no. They are starting a relationship and a family. We are extended family now. Yes. We are extended family.
your family has no obligation to include us because we're extended. We're extended, right? I should not be expecting you to be at my house every Sunday for dinner, every holiday, every no, that just does not make sense
It's
because
not realistic.
no, it's not realistic and that's not what it's supposed to be. Yes, in some part of our ancestral line, it used to be that where we all lived under one roof. And
yeah, it still happens to this day.
it still happens. And, you know, once upon a time in my life of my mind of crazy, of floating ideas that I have many of, I thought about that too, having, you know, a large house and like many immigrant families do. They pool their resources and they have like this ginormous house where you got your one family lives on the east wing, one family lives on the west wing.
Yes, we've talked about this.
Right? We've talked about this, right?
My boyfriend's family had the same mindset too. And that's where me and him had to, well, at least me, because, you know, when you have a certain codependency with your family, you have limited room to think for yourself.
Oh, yeah.
So me and him have agreed and have multiple conversations, even to this day, 2 years in, multiple conversations on breaking generational curses, as you can say.
Mm-hmm.
Because you grow up with a family mindset, and like I said, I'm all for family. I love family. I would love to be at Sunday dinners every Sunday, but realistically, there's going to be a Sunday where I'm like, I don't want to leave my house.
Right.
And that happens more often than people think, and it didn't take until being with my boyfriend, because he is also such a family man, and he's probably had more opportunities than I've had to be a family man. And I've seen how many times he just doesn't want to go.
Right. He's like, I don't want to go.
And he does it anyway because that's what you do for family. And that's what I want to break.
Yes.
It's not the not being around family, but the not feeling the need to have to be around when you don't want to.
Take out that obligation.
It needs to be okay.
Yes. It's okay for you to say, you know what? I love you. I would love to be there, but I really don't feel like it. And it has nothing to do with you, and I don't want to engage. I just really don't feel like it. And that's okay.
Right. And it also doesn't mean that I'm going to be okay next week. It doesn't have to be an every time thing.
Yeah.
It also has to give that comfortability of understanding.
Right. And
that it's okay.
Right. And as family, we have to be like, okay, no worries. I'll catch you next time whenever you feel up to it. You know, that kind of thing. And I totally get it because I'm the same way. Like holidays, now that you guys are all grown and in your corners of the world, you know, starting your own families, you know, it's like, wow, I don't have to go anywhere for, you know, holidays if I don't choose to.
Yeah, and I love that.
I know, right? I love that feeling. So, and I do find myself in that position like you, that I feel guilty, like your uncle invited us to Thanksgiving this year. And he has every year since we've been living out here in Arizona, which I thoroughly appreciate. And I know it's more exciting for him because he hasn't had family, like blood family, me, home for the holidays. So, right. So for him, it's very nostalgic. I'm. This is my perception of it.
No, because it's family. Like who, like any right person who's a family person at that, who wouldn't want to be around family? So you're always gonna have that small little guilt, but I feel like that's also come from generations of telling you family's family. You have to love family. You got to be with family. You know, you got to accept things from family. And that's what me and him are trying to break with our future.
Yeah, yeah.
Because some things aren't okay just because they're family.
No, it's not.
You know, some things don't have to be tolerated, especially, and I've realized this now that I'm an adult, and I say this to every advantage that I can get. I'm an adult now. I don't have to deal with it.
Oh my gosh, that is so true.
But I don't find it true for only adults, and I've realized that now that it could also be true for your children. Just because their family, your children don't have to deal with that. They don't have to deal with a certain family member they don't like. And especially because I'm an energy person. Sometimes you can just feel somebody's energy and know that it's not for you.
And I think that's something we should definitely start listening more to because I agree. As I have grown these years and have seen, and I think you've noticed it as you were a kid growing up, I started to also be that because I would say, no, it's your grandmother, you got to go. And then it's like, I don't want to go. It's like, okay, fine, don't go. Because there's a reason why you don't want to go. And one day you'll tell me, which you did. And so why you don't want to go. And I respect that and it's okay. And you're right, we have to stop making our children do things that they don't want to do, or at
And there's
least
no fault to it.
right, and at least find out why they don't want to do it.
Yes, just listen, and that's really all it comes to. And I honestly just talked to somebody about this, where it's not, it doesn't come from, envious or, anything spiteful. It just really comes from the fact that you try so hard to have your kids have what you didn't have.
Mm-hmm.
And it takes away from being able to listen to what they want.
Mm-hmm.
You think, as a parent, not just you specifically, but most parents of your generation or older as well, come from, I just want my kids to have what I didn't have. And you think that because you didn't have, like, for example, I didn't get all these toys for Christmas when I was a kid, so you're going to get all these toys. But what if it's not what they want?
Right.
You're just giving them random things because you didn't have it, but you're not listening to the fact that it's not what they want.
Yeah. And I get that because I used to love your Christmas list. I want chapstick, lotion. I was like, what? What? What is wrong with you? How about this?
And as an adult, I still want those things.
Right. But I'm like, huh? You want chapstick, lotion, and this? I'm like,
no, you're a kid. Let me get you all these toys and Barbies and
right. And you guys really didn't want that stuff. You really just wanted the different chapsticks and the different lotions and the different whatevers. It was just so simplistic, right?
Mm-hmm. Some parents also come from, I was poor growing up. But, I've ran, and that's where the conversation really stemmed from the other day. It was a reference to, these two parents both came from poverty.
Mm-hmm.
So they wanted to make sure that they made enough money for their children, but realized that because they were working so hard, they weren't home enough. So they always made that argument where it's like, we didn't have this much money growing up, so you should be grateful. We're providing for you. And then it comes when they get older, they're like, Mom, all I wanted was for you to hug me and to love me and come to my games.
Right.
We didn't care about the money.
Right.
But you work so hard to give your kids what you don't want, and it's like, that's why I said it's nobody's fault.
Mm-hmm. You're right. And that's it. And for me, it was like that hard balance because, you're trying to set those boundaries, right? You're trying to go here and do work, and then you're trying to be here. I swear, I don't know how I made it to half the things that I made it to.
Like, I'm just glad you made it.
I swear.
And every time with a big iPad, I told all my friends this. Like, I'm so, like, and that's why I like the fact that, like you said, it's better that I'm doing the boundaries now, because being 26, I have so much more perspective on why everything was the way it was growing up.
Mm-hmm.
It's honestly giving me that motivation, that determination to set these boundaries, because you did it while having children. I'm trying to do it before they get here. Because I see how hard it is. And I see how unintentionally easy it is to pour onto your children without even knowing.
Mm-hmm.
And I have a lot to pour.
Right.
And I don't want to pour even a drop.
Right.
On our children, because I have, and like I said, me and him have these conversations so often because I really want it to be understood, heard, and I need it to be spoken out loud so I can constantly remember that I really want our children to be surrounded by everyone who loves and truly adores them.
Mm-hmm.
Family or not, if you're not one of those people, and not just for our children, but for ourselves as well, because not a lot of people also take account that you do things for your children that bother you.
Yeah.
That eat you up inside.
Yeah.
And that's good either, because you need to make sure you're okay for your kids to be okay. And if they see that you stuff things up in the sake of others, that's how they grow up to be.
Yes. So I'm glad you said that too, because you talk about people who say we're in a they're staying in a bad relationship and marriage. We're doing it for the sake of the kids, to keep the kids together, because I grew up without 2-parent household.
Forget that.
Oh no. It's more toxic for them to see you together, trying to fight the animosity. You think they don't feel that energy? They feel that toxic energy.
Children don't need parents to be together. They just need 2 happy parents.
Thank you. Say it again.
And then that also goes into what I literally just told Eris today. I was, you know how they always ask, a lot of men get asked this, but it's a general question that gets asked a lot, where it says, between your mom, your children, and your spouse, who comes first?
Oh, I you know what? That's just ridiculous.
And a lot of people put their parents first. A lot of men, I can say, will put their mom first.
No.
And that's a different outcome all by itself.
Right.
But then a lot of people, men and women, put their children first.
Mm-hmm.
And that's also something that I'm so glad me and him are on the same page for, which is why me and him can never be away from each other, because this is it for the long run. We have been on the same page with almost everything for the last 2 years, and I love it.
Yeah.
Because it's so true. Your children should also not come first, because like you just said, it's not about sucking things up for the sake of the children, because that's a bad example that you're setting. Because if you're so focused on making sure the kids are okay, that's why the relationship falls short between the husband and wife. Whereas if you focus on each other as husband and wife, because that was here before the kids, and that's what's going to be there after they leave.
Yeah.
Because they're meant to be in the house forever. So when they're gone, who else is stuck in the house? You and your spouse.
Mm-hmm. That is so true.
You need to make sure each other are okay, because then you're not going to properly make sure your children are okay.
Right, because you're damaged.
And that's just setting up a cycle for failure in relationships, in life, and just relationships within the whole household as well. Because you're setting an example that, and I'm sorry for my opinion, but it's wrong.
Just like, it's my opinion, but it's wrong. No, you know what, and I agree, because I think that's why the divorce rate is as high as it is, because we have fallen into that trap of our kids come first, and the spouse is second, and so forth and so on, or the mother-in-law, and then the wife. It should not be that, because at the end of the day, like you said, it's you and him against the world, me and you against the world, and
that includes your children.
And that right, because a lot of people get divorced because they realize, it's just the two of us now. I don't know if I really like you. And
because you guys never took the time to figure each other out. That's why dates are so important. Even when you have children, taking dates with each other are so important, because not just, not getting to know somebody that you're having kids with, but people change.
Yeah, we evolve. You need to reconnect and see who you're facing with every day, who you're sleeping with every day. And I think I even did a podcast about this a while back about, we evolve, we change, we grow, we have different aspirations, and different things that we are going toward in life, and as an individual and as together. So I'm really, I'm so proud that you guys have those conversations and that you are so steadfast in maintaining communication, even having the hard conversations with one another now.
And it's because honestly, like I said, like being older has given me a different perspective on my childhood, and because of that perspective is what's driving me so hard to do things so differently, because I see it. I see all aspects and perspectives of it. The one where I hate the world because it happened to me. You know, the aspect where I forgiven my mother because you literally did the best that you could.
Right.
And then have the aspect where, okay, I went through this. It didn't kill me. I'm still here. Let's do differently. And that's why the boundary with his sister has given me another perspective with my own. Because if I can stand firm with my sister-in-law, I could do it with my own. And that's a boundary all by itself that hurts differently, because it's something that was never expected, and I've tried so hard to not let it get to this point. But it has to. Because, and you know, everyone has this opinion where, you know, any beef between you and an adult should never affect the children. Why not? It should never negatively affect them, but why can't it positively affect them?
Right.
Because I don't agree with, like, for example, if my sister and I aren't getting along and we haven't spoken in over a year, why do you think you can have unlimited access to my children?
Right.
What gives you that privilege? Just because siblings? I'm sorry, I don't agree with that, because if you can't have a relationship with the mother of these children, why can you have a relationship with the children? Because you gotta go through the mother to even talk to them.
Yeah, and it also the kids see that, right? And they say, well, why don't you talk to mom? You know, you come get us and you spend time with us. And and I want to say I am a product of that, to be honest, because it was that, you know, I had an aunt that would come and just engage with my mom just so to come get me and spend time with me and then drop me back off, and then they don't speak.
Yeah, and that sets an example for the children that behavior is okay. And it's not.
No, it's not. It's not. And not that you want to sever those relationships, but again, back to boundaries, right?
Yeah.
We need to establish these boundaries. Listen, yeah, we've established that we probably will not be the best of friends, thick as thieves. We've established that.
Yeah.
But we are going to be cordial and have civil conversations and engagements, especially when it comes to the children. You're not just going to come, drop them off, not speak to me, and just be like, it's okay. And no. That's not how that works.
And I don't want my children to think that it works. And also, it's not about the relationship either. It's just the fact that I'm not saying my kids won't know who their aunt is.
Right.
And I'm not going to lie to my children on why I don't speak to her. But it's also coming down to, just because we are siblings or just because we're family doesn't give you access and permission for certain things that you feel you're obligated to. I don't find that fair, and I don't find that to be okay.
No, you're right, and that's changed.
Sorry.
No, that's okay.
It also has to do with, like I mentioned earlier, having to do things you don't want to do.
Right.
Or just for the sake of children. I don't want to do that.
Right. So it's just like, you know, having those conversations and setting those boundaries and sticking to those boundaries and making sure that everything is understood and communicated as such, because, you know, this is not an all access pass. You know, you can't just pick and choose when you pop in and pop out. And you know, I can't say that either. I mean, it depends on what life happens. Okay, life happens. I get it, but there are ground rules and there are boundaries that we all have to abide by. And as you mentioned before, you and Eris are trying to break those generational curses, and this is part of those generational curses that many of us live with.
And I truly just don't want, my future children and, generations to come as well, because it's something that I had to realize that wasn't okay for me. Nobody who says they love you is going to walk in and out of their life so freely.
That is so true.
Because love is unconditional. You could be upset with somebody, you cannot like who they are as a person, or like the values or morals that they stand by, or just how they do things. But because you love them, you might need a moment or two where you don't speak. Like, I'm not expecting you to speak to a certain person that is like that every day. But because you love them, you're not going to just freely pick and choose when you want to be there for them, or when you want to be in their life, or I'm going to go 1 year without speaking to you and I'm going to come back and I'm going to speak to you this year. That's not okay. That's not love. That sounds, and if that is love, that sounds very conditional.
Yeah, love should not be conditional.
And I don't want my children to think love is conditional, because that's not a way to love somebody. Love is unconditional. Whether you like that person and how they do things or not, doesn't mean you have to accept it. Don't get me wrong. But that doesn't mean that you also just decide when you want to not be there in their life and then, oh, I'm here now.
Yay.
No.
Right? It's like, yay, let's, have a party. No, that's not how this works.
No.
That's not how any of this works, okay? Yeah, love is definitely unconditional. And you're right. I don't have to agree with anything and everything that you stand for. I have a right to disagree and not agree with you.
Of course.
But that doesn't mean I love you any less, right? It just means that, okay, I know not to have that conversation with you again.
Exactly. You just form a different type of relationship with that person based off of what you can tolerate and what you can't. Right. And if you can't tolerate that person, then you need to make that choice to leave them alone.
Yep.
And have that conversation.
Yeah. You know what?
No human is perfect. Nobody is going to agree with everything that you say and do.
Nope. Not a soul. Not a soul. And I don't expect everyone to agree with everything that I say and do. And, I have a really good friend who, some days he say the most outlandish crap. And I'm like, dude, did you just hear yourself? He was like, yeah, I know that wasn't very PC. I'm like, no, it wasn't. And that's okay. But just don't let it happen again. Okay, you can't say that to other people. He's like, yeah, I know. We can only have this conversation. So, it's okay, because you do have those people that just, you love them for who they are. They're being their authentic self.
Yes.
And I get it, and I'm all for it. Doesn't mean I agree with it? No, because we'll have a conversation, and he'll say, I agree with me. Tell me if you agree or disagree. He said, and if you disagree, it's okay. He said, I get it. He said, but I just want to know why. He's all about the why, right?
Me. Sounds like me.
He's all about the why. Well, tell me why you don't agree. And then when you give the why and your opinion of why you don't agree with something, he goes,
It gives a perspective.
Yes, it gives them
That's how relationships should be.
Right.
Even if he disagreed with what you felt or what your opinion was, you could be upset about it. You're entitled to that. But if you're able to see another perspective, that's good. That's growth. That's a relationship. That's unconditional love.
Right. He's like, you gave me another perspective to think about. I gotta ponder that. And I'm like, I respect that. You're not saying that my opinion is wrong or what I'm thinking is wrong or my logic is wrong. You're saying I gave you a perspective that you didn't think about or consider. So it's still
even just having that friend that also just tells you what you don't want to hear.
Right. And, I respect that. It's like, man, I really didn't want to hear that.
I tell my friend that all the time. She's good at letting me realize things about myself, like how I have certain conversations with a condescending tone. And she finally told me about it. And I was like, I didn't want you to tell me that, but thank you. I needed to hear it.
Right. And that's okay, because we don't realize how we say things because we say it so often and we do it so often. And sometimes we do it without thinking about how it's said, especially when we are preoccupied with other things in our head, or that we were previously doing something else, and then all of a sudden I have to interject and have this conversation, and now my tone, I have a different tone in my head that just came out of my mouth, and I'm like, oops. I didn't mean to say it like that, but my bad. My bad.
So yeah, I can say that, like, setting boundaries does have its perks, because it is for the long run. It's going to benefit me in the long run.
Yeah,
it's going to benefit my children. And like you said, with how glad that you are with me and Eris having these conversations, I'm glad for that too, because I find that my previous relationships, and then also looking at other people, these conversations aren't really had.
No. And the fact at your age of 26 is able to recognize that and have those conversations. That's why I said I'm very proud of you that you're doing it, because that sets you up for success in your future marriage and having children, because now you've strengthened that bond between the two of you. No one can break that.
And I'm forever grateful for that.
Mm-hmm.
And I tell him that all the time, because the fact that we went through what we went through with his sister, I was like, we can go through anything.
Right. And that doesn't mean you're not going to be challenged as you grow.
Oh, of course not. You're going to keep getting challenged.
You're going to be challenged. Oh my gosh. It's never ending. It's like, okay, can you just stop now? I'm all done with the storms. Right. So, the challenges definitely do not end by any means, but the fact that you have the tools, you're starting to build your toolbox on your relationship of things, and I love that, because I didn't acquire those tools until later in life, to have those conversations, to speak on those communicative levels of, you just said that to me. I just want you to know that I took it this way. This is how I perceive what you just said to me, which allows you to process the information for yourself, but also gives that other person an opportunity to actually see how they're being perceived by what they say and what they're doing, because sometimes people don't realize what they say and what they do, right? Because we do it every day.
Right, especially when you don't have somebody in your everyday life to help you realize these things.
Mm-hmm.
So sometimes it does take being in a relationship to realize, like, oh crap, I do this. I didn't know that this happens. Oh, I didn't realize that me doing this or saying this gives this reaction, or this, it gives a different perspective, because everyone is like this. Everyone's family has their own dynamic, their own way of doing things. So what they think is okay, or some families just like to not acknowledge other things as well. So it's not until you get in a relationship with somebody who is raised differently or has a different mindset or way of doing things that helps you realize, like, okay, this isn't going to work. But it still has to come down to, is this person enough to make me want to change it?
Right.
Because I also realized that as well. I've always been a communicator in relationships. The type of communicator I am also depended on who I was with. So I think that this relationship specifically has been the most positive and the most communication I've ever done.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm always that person, because whether it's friend or relationship, I'm always that person to tell you about yourself. I'm sorry to say it in that way. It could mean, and it doesn't have to mean negatively. It can mean positively.
Yeah.
So in a relationship, if you're communicating to somebody about the things that they're doing, most times people are like, well, this is who I am. Nobody said anything until now. So now you become the problem because you're the one who said something, and because nobody else has ever said anything, they don't find the need to change it. But then you also have another set of people who are like, okay, I see where you're coming from. No one's ever said this to me, but that also doesn't mean that it's not a problem.
Right.
Because obviously voicing it to me because it's something that you don't like.
Right.
So that's when it comes down to, is this person enough to make me change and be a better person, not just for myself, but for them?
And it's not so much as change, because, you know, like we never set into relationships to change the individual, but to help them see another, or to show them another side of them, that how they're perceived by each individual person. And like you said, who's to say that the other people did not agree with how things were said? They just didn't have that courage, or didn't have that set of boundaries that you have, to say, okay, listen, I understand what you're saying, I understand how you're feeling, but I'm not going to allow you to talk to me like that because I don't appreciate it. This is how I'm perceived for how you're talking. And then they say, I've done this all this time and no one else ever said it. And that doesn't mean it's not wrong, or, you know, that is right for you to do it. It means that maybe they didn't have the capacity to have that conversation with you.
Yeah, or maybe they just didn't find it a problem because they might do the same thing.
That too. That too. So, so it's not to say it's not a problem. So it's not really fair for, individuals to say, oh, that's not a problem. Yeah.
But it comes down to communication, because everyone is different. There's things that people like, there's things that other people don't like compared to what you like. So if you're going to be with somebody, it really does take time to realize, or not realize, but come to an understanding within each other what you can change for that other person. And like you said, it's not really change per se, but it's to make a dynamic happen.
I like that. Make a dynamic happen.
Because you can't be a team when you guys don't even agree or willing to make adjustments. Yeah. Because you guys are, two different people. Whether it's men, women, 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 man, man. You guys are still two different people. And if you want something to work, or try to make something work, some things have to get changed. Some things have to be done differently and said differently. Like, there's things that me and him have learned to say that could be said seriously, but we choose to say it playfully because it just leaves for less argument.
Right, and it leaves you room, and it leaves room for discussion too.
Yes, and sometimes it just might make it easier to talk about, because me and him like to laugh about a lot. But then there's certain things that we need to take seriously. So there's times where I might find myself being too serious. Like, my tone of voice gets very stern when there's things that I don't agree with, or things that weigh a great deal on me emotionally. So you're going to hear it, and not by my words, but you'll hear it in the tone. And I have come to realize that sometimes the tone isn't necessary.
I like that. I've learned that too in my ripe old age.
It's not the words, it's the tone.
It's the tone. It's the tone. And I am learned. I know, I've learned. I am more mindful of the tone, and sometimes by me being mindful of the tone, sometimes I find that even that comes off a little condescending, because I'm trying not to be annoyed in a tone or aggressive in a tone, and so I try to lighten it, and in that lighten it sounds like I'm being, condescending of some sort.
Yeah. I have found that issue too. So I've learned to kind of say it in a playful way, and I can say it for me and him because we're both younger siblings. We're just childish sometimes. We're mature when we need to be. Do not worry, podcast. We are very mature, well-rounded adults when need to be, but we are very childish at the same time.
I love that you don't give up your inner child. That's.
Oh my gosh, and he brings it out, and I think I bring it out of him as well. We are huge children, and I think that's going to take us in the long run when it comes to being parents.
I think so.
But because we're both big children and we just bring our inner child out so much, that's how I can get my point across without being so stern all the time.
I think that is amazing that you guys have that, and I just wish that for you, that it continues to grow. I see beautiful things, and not that I'm rushing grandchildren or anything, but I am waiting with bated breath for the grandchildren.
Don't get me wrong, I would love to give you a grandchild, but I had this conversation with you. I need him to be in the same state at least.
Yes, and you know what? And like I said, I'm not rushing you. Even when you're in the same state, I am not rushing you by any means. I want you to definitely be ready. Prepare yourself as much as possible, as you guys have been, with the tools out there, to help with the communication and to keep your relationship strong. Because as we pointed out, it's not when you have children, it's no longer that thing. The children come first. Forget about us. No, you have to maintain that relationship with you guys. And I'm glad that you have definitely learned that and are learning that early on in the relationship, because I think that's what is going to keep you and maintain you guys, and keeping those date nights, right? Um,
Date nights. We're always constantly looking at like sporting events or like new restaurants, and like we're still finding out things about each other. I just found out he's never been to Fridays.
Look at that, and I know that the women have this whole thing out there about not dates.
It's not a first date.
Oh my gosh, that is such a crock of crap. I just don't even know.
And me and him been to the Cheesecake Factory. We love it there.
Right? So I that's that newfangled mentality, and I don't sign on to that at all. So definitely not
that. A date
that.
is a date.
A date is a date. Long as we are together and we are enjoying each other's company, that is a great date. All right.
And if you're going into the date about money, that's how you end up losing.
That's how you end up losing.
Unless
Absolutely.
you just go with somebody who just want to throw money at everything and everyone. But the chances of that are slim. So, you want a man.
Right.
Start thinking the Cheesecake Factory is okay. Because at the end of the day, I find that you have to come to a realization eventually. I'm sorry that it's just about the person.
It is about the person.
And whatever you guys are doing is what makes the date. It's because you guys are together doing it.
Yep. Exactly.
Our first date, we went to a comic book store and went and sit in the park. And I remember it like it was yesterday because he was so nervous. He rolled around in the grass before he told me he liked me. Like, we were at the park.
Beautiful. And you know what? When you start out that way, it is just the most beautiful thing, because you're open to any and everything, and that's what I love about where you are and where you guys are going. And I just, as a mom, I just wish you nothing but the best for your new nuclear family that is coming. And
I love you that you feel this way, because it, like I keep saying, family's everything for me. So to have you as my mom and not only want it for me, but you're seeing it.
Mm-hmm. No.
And that even means a lot for me too, because, I don't have the best track record of relationship, let alone bringing people to the house. So I feel like I'm making up for that. And it's not like I'm doing it on purpose, but it's like you finally get to see me make the right choice. Or, and some of the relationships weren't, because I chose the wrong person. They just ended up being the wrong person. So you're finally getting to see the happiness that I've longed for.
No, and I love it. And I love that I'm still here to see it. And I'm so happy that you found your person. And I see that he really cares about you. And that's all any good parent really wants for their kid, is to see that they're happy and well taken care of, and that he has your six at all times, and I love that. So kudos to you, cutie.
Yeah. But I am glad with, the experiences and setting boundaries. And like I said, keeping it is the hardest thing to do. So I'm glad I'm able to get on a podcast and talk about it, because I don't see it talked about enough.
No, and it's not. So I appreciate you coming on, talking about setting boundaries. And, for all those who are out there, I hope there's something out that, Maya said or that I said that resonates, and, share it so that others can hear, because it is important that we set those boundaries even when it comes to family. Hell, especially when it comes to family. We have to set those boundaries. And I think we all forget that we have to do that self-care. And part of that self-care is setting boundaries. I think that's where it begins, is when you start setting those boundaries. You are doing self-care. And sometimes it can hurt to set those boundaries, right?
Yeah, it hurts a lot.
It hurts a lot, and
because you're told to love these people unconditionally, but you realize that that's not enough.
It's not. And, I have to set boundaries daily with family members, including my own children, and it's okay. And I find I have to respect the boundaries of my children when it comes to me. And that's okay. It sucks.
Yeah, every boundaries suck.
Right? Everything about boundaries suck, but it's something we have to do. So just be kind to yourself when setting those boundaries, and take those lessons as lessons, as they are lessons. It's no fault. There's no regret. There's no guilty feelings or any of that. It's all a lesson. And if we can see it as a lesson and grow from it, then we are doing our part as human beings. And that's living and evolving. And that's all we can ever ask for. So thank you, Maya, for taking the time out to hang out with your mom.
Thank you for
You're welcome. And for anyone who is interested, she's on the East Coast, just so you guys are aware, in the DMV area. So that's Delaware, Maryland, Virginia area, Pennsylvania, New Jersey, New York area is where she is located. So if you are interested in her business, I will definitely have it in the show notes. Thank you to WUBI for having us and showcasing our show on the radio. And for those of you who are listening, please take care of yourself and each other. And if you are in need of great skincare, Divine Nubian Essentials will be happy to be a part of that skin and hair care, to help take care of those skin and hair care needs, vegan options. And if you are in need of healthcare academia assistance, the Collins Education Resource Management will be happy to assist you with that as well. So with that, I say continue to take care of yourself and each other, and remember, self-care is not selfish, and part of setting boundaries is self-care. So on that note, take care of yourself and each other. Namaste.